Mr. Thompson, thank you so much for speaking with us today. All right, so can you tell us a little bit about what happened inside today?
Today was the bond hearing for Officer Tyler, and the court took evidence from the state police investigators in making a determination on the bond setting.
Now, you're Mr. Tyler's attorney. Were you expecting this? Were you expecting charges to be filed?
Well, we were hoping that no charges would be filed. I think from the evidence that we heard in the courtroom today that this incident occurred, as the investigator indicated in the public record, less than 1 second. It was simultaneous. It was during the pursuit of an individual who was, the police were dispatched on a domestic disturbance call. So it was a highly charged atmosphere. It was a dangerous call. The domestic calls are always dangerous by nature. And the fact that the testimony showed that Mr. Bagley was coming at the officer in the same direction almost simultaneously, and they had less than a second interaction, that I think that's important evidence that needs to be considered.
Now, did you see the video yourself?
Yes, I've seen it.
And what are your thoughts on the video, having seen your client and the actions he took?
Well, again, these are split-second decisions that officers have to make, and, if charges are brought, we'll be prepared to defend them. But, again, you and I have the benefit of hindsight. We can sit down in a comfortable room with a cup of coffee and review this video. That's not the position that Officer Tyler was in, nor any other officer that puts his life on the line on a day-to-day basis and encounters these type of situations.
What do you think this kind of comes down to? I know you said it's a split-second decision, but are you planning on maybe discussing training as a part of this? What do you think led to this situation?
Well, again, just in general, not comment on this case because, again, we're limited on what we can comment on at this stage. But in general, officers are faced with dangerous situations on a daily basis. They're trained very well to adapt and respond, but at the same time, these officers sometimes are in harm's way, and it's their perception, what they reasonably perceived at the time the incident occurred. So it's not a hindsight analysis. It's what did that officer see? What was his perception at the time this occurred? And from what the evidence showed here, the state police investigator testified that it was a domestic disturbance call initiated by Mr. Bagley's wife. There was a minor child present in the house. From the state police investigator's testimony, he went to his back room, tried to lock the door away from the officers, and then when the officers tried to enter the room for officer safety, he grabbed an object from the bedside table and jumped out the balcony window. So this is the situation that the officers are faced with, an individual that's not being compliant at this point per the testimony. And then when my officer encounters him at the side of the building with the suspect coming at him simultaneously with less than a second, that's the situation he's faced with. That's what the evidence showed here today. So it's now up to the district attorney's office to analyze that evidence and either present charges, take it before the grand jury, or decline charges. We're hopeful that a thorough review of the evidence will show that Officer Tyler didn't do anything wrong. However, if the charges are brought, we'll be prepared to defend them.
So do you all plan to go to trial if the charges are brought and they stick?
If the charges are brought, we'll be prepared to defend them.
Now, has Officer Tyler, is he still currently on administrative leave? Has anything changed with his status with Shreveport Police?
No, it's my appreciation that he is on administrative leave at this time.
And have you or Officer Alexander Tyler reached out to the Bagley family at all?
So no, we haven't done that at this point. So.
And in terms of his mood when he turned himself in, or when the warrant was served, did he call you? How did you hear about the warrant? Did you know it was coming already? The warrant that was filed with the Caddo Sheriff's Office, did you find out about it from Officer Tyler? What was his mood?
Well, no, I was contacted by the state police. They indicated that they had an arrest warrant, and as we've been throughout this process, we immediately complied and had Officer Tyler turn himself in.
Okay, and what was his mood this morning and his mood in the courtroom, or through video?
Well, no officer wants to be in this situation. All good officers don't go out on the street, wanting to shoot somebody. And in this situation, he was put in an unfortunate situation. He's not cavalier about this. he's just as shook about this incident as any other reasonable officer would be.
And do you think the status, I know you said it's his appreciation that his status with Shreveport Police has not changed. Do you think that that could change in the coming days?
I don't know if it'll change. I don't expect it until there is a decision by the district attorney's office whether or not they're going to institute charges.
And how soon could that decision come? I mean, you've seen, officer-involved shootings play out before.
As a former prosecutor, these type of investigations can take months to make a decision, so we're just going to have to stand by and be prepared.
And do you have a message to the Bagley family?
Well, again, I've watched some of the press conferences. I'm saddened to see some of the irresponsible narrative that's been put out in social media and others that has put, what I feel like is compounding tragedy in this scenario. The only thing I can offer to everybody in the community is to let the judicial system and the process play out. Let the case be determined on the facts and evidence of what truly happened, and not irresponsible social media outlets or anything to that effect.
And do you plan on addressing the lawsuit at all? Do you have anything to say about the $10 million lawsuit that's been filed?
Well, that's going to be defended by the city, and we'll just have to see how that plays out.
Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Now we're going to turn to Priscilla, who was inside the courtroom.
That is right, Alexandria Savage. We were live here earlier today, and we just got out of the bond hearing where attorneys were able to come forward and talk at that time. Now, the bond is currently set for $25,000, and the next court date will actually be an arraignment on April 3rd. Again, you just heard from the attorney who is representing Alexander Tyler, who is the Shreveport police officer. That was Dhu Thompson, who just gave you an inside look and kind of spun you up on the details earlier today that had happened. Seems pretty optimistic at this time. We will have further details on this story for you today at 4. Reporting live from the Caddo Parish Courthouse, Priscilla Borrego, KSLA News 12.